October 8, 1918, Argonne Forest, France. Corporal Alvin York crouched behind a fallen log and counted the German machine guns firing at him. 7, maybe 8. All aimed directly at his position. Behind him, 9 American soldiers were pinned down. Ahead, 90 German soldiers were dug into fortified positions on a hillside. Any moment, German reinforcements would arrive and surround them completely. Alvin York had grown up in the mountains of Tennessee, shooting squirrels for food. His family was so poor that wasting a single bullet meant going hungry. So his father taught him a trick. When you're hunting a flock of turkeys, you don't shoot the one in front. You shoot from back to front. Otherwise, the ones in front fly away and warn the others. On October 8, 1918, Alvin York looked at those 90 German soldiers and thought about turkeys. And then he started shooting from back to front. What happened next became the single most effective individual combat action in American military history. 1 man, 1 rifle, 25 Germans killed, 35 wounded, 132 prisoners captured, and a reload trick that's still taught in military training today. This is the story of how a conscientious objector who didn't want to fight became America's greatest World War I hero by applying squirrel hunting tactics to trench warfare. Alvin Cullum York was born December 13, 1887, in Pall Mall, Tennessee, a tiny mountain community so remote that most residents had never seen a city. His family lived in a 2-room cabin, 11 children, no electricity, no running water, no money. His father was a blacksmith and subsistence farmer. The York family survived by growing what they could and hunting what they needed. And in the mountains of Tennessee, that meant one thing: you learned to shoot. Alvin started hunting at age 6, not for sport, for survival. His family needed meat. Bullets cost money. Every shot had to count, so his father taught him to shoot squirrels. Why squirrels? Because squirrels are small, fast, and difficult targets. A squirrel sitting on a branch 30 meters away is about the size of a man's fist. Hitting it requires perfect marksmanship, and the York family couldn't afford to miss. Alvin's father taught him something specific: aim for the head, always the head. Why? Because a body shot ruins the meat. A headshot kills instantly and preserves the maximum amount of food. By age 10, Alvin York could hit a squirrel's head at 40 meters with iron sights. By age 15, he could do it at 60 meters. He didn't use a scope, couldn't afford one. Just natural talent, constant practice, and absolute necessity. But Alvin's father taught him another trick, the reload trick. When you're hunting squirrels in a tree, you never shoot the lowest one first. Why? Because when you shoot, the sound scares the other squirrels. If you shoot the bottom one, the ones above scatter and you lose them. Instead, you shoot from top to bottom. Kill the highest squirrel first. The ones below don't realize what's happening. They freeze in confusion. You reload. Shoot the next highest. Reload again. Work your way down. This technique maximizes kills before the prey realizes they're being hunted. It's counterintuitive. Most people would shoot the closest, easiest target first. But Alvin's father taught him: sacrifice the easy shot for the strategic advantage. And in 1918, this squirrel hunting tactic would kill 25 German soldiers in less than 20 minutes. Alvin York grew up deeply religious. His mother was devout. She raised him in the Church of Christ in Christian Union, a fundamentalist denomination that took the Bible literally, including the commandment, "Thou shalt not kill." By 1917, Alvin was 29 years old. He worked as a logger, attended church, lived quietly in the Tennessee mountains. He had no interest in the war raging in Europe. He didn't understand it, didn't care about it. And then America entered World War I, June 5, 1917. The Selective Service Act. The military draft. Alvin York received his draft notice, and he wrote on the form, "Don't want to fight." The draft board rejected his request. He wasn't a Quaker. His church wasn't on the official list of recognized pacifist denominations. He was drafted, sent to Camp Gordon, Georgia for training. Assigned to Company G, 328th Infantry Regiment, 82nd Division. And that's where something unexpected happened. Alvin York was the best marksman the Army had ever seen. During rifle qualification, he scored perfect scores, every shot, every time. Quote, "The trainers were stunned. This quiet farm boy from Tennessee could outshoot professional marksmen. They asked him how he learned. Squirrel hunting, he said. They asked him to demonstrate. Alvin picked up his rifle, aimed at targets 300 meters away, fired 20 shots, 20 hits. All headshots. The Army immediately wanted to make him a sniper instructor. But Alvin still didn't want to fight. He struggled with his conscience. The Bible said, 'Thou shalt not kill.' But his country said he had to serve." His company commander, Captain Edward Danforth, spent hours debating theology with Alvin. They discussed the Bible, discussed just war theory, discussed whether defending innocent people could be morally justified. Eventually, Alvin made peace with it. He would serve. He would fight if necessary. But he prayed he'd never have to kill anyone. May 1918. The 82nd Division shipped to France. Alvin York arrived in a country destroyed by 4 years of trench warfare, millions dead, cities in ruins. No man's land filled with barbed wire, shell craters, and corpses. The 82nd Division was sent to the Meuse-Argonne offensive, the final major Allied push to end the war. The objective was to break through heavily fortified German lines and force Germany to surrender. The problem was that the Germans weren't surrendering. They were fighting desperately. Every meter of ground cost hundreds of Allied lives. And on October 8, 1918, Alvin York's company received orders for a nearly impossible mission. October 8, 1918, 06:10 hours. Company G was ordered to capture German positions on Hill 223 in the Argonne Forest. Intelligence reported machine gun nests, maybe 20 to 30 Germans, should be a straightforward assault. The intelligence was catastrophically wrong. As Company G advanced, they walked into a killing zone. Not 30 Germans, over 100 Germans. Not a few machine guns, 35 machine guns. All dug into fortified positions with overlapping fields of fire. The Americans were slaughtered. Within minutes, half the company was dead or wounded. The survivors dove for cover, pinned down. Unable to advance, unable to retreat, slowly being picked off by German machine gun fire. Sergeant Bernard Early, leading the assault, realized they needed to flank the German position. He took 17 men on a circuitous route through dense forest, trying to get behind the German lines. Attack from an unexpected angle. Among those 17 men was Corporal Alvin York. They moved through the forest for an hour, slowly, quietly, and then they got lucky. They stumbled onto a German command post. 20 German soldiers, officers, and runners, in a clearing. Completely surprised, Sergeant Early's squad opened fire. The Germans surrendered immediately. 20 prisoners. The Americans were securing the prisoners when disaster struck. The German machine gun nests on the hill realized what was happening. They rotated their guns and opened fire on Sergeant Early's position. The Americans were caught in the open, no cover. German machine guns firing from elevated positions 40 meters away. 9 Americans were killed in the first 30 seconds, including Sergeant Early. 6 more were wounded. That left 9 Americans still combat effective, and one of them was Alvin York. The situation was hopeless. 9 Americans, 20 German prisoners who might try to escape or fight back at any moment, and at least 90 German soldiers on the hill above them firing machine guns downward. The logical move was to retreat, abandon the prisoners, run back to American lines, hope you survive. But retreating meant leaving the wounded behind, and Alvin York wasn't leaving anyone behind. He looked at the German machine gun positions, counted them, 7, maybe 8, all firing continuously, and then Alvin York thought about squirrels. When you're hunting squirrels in a tree and you shoot one, the others scatter. Unless you shoot from top to bottom, then they freeze in confusion. Alvin was at the bottom of the hill. The Germans were above him. The closest Germans were about 40 meters away. The farthest were maybe 80 meters. Any normal person would shoot the closest targets first, the immediate threats, but Alvin York aimed at the Germans farthest away and started shooting from back to front. Alvin positioned himself behind a small fallen log, minimal cover, but enough to stabilize his rifle. He aimed at the farthest German machine gun nest, 80 meters, elevated position, difficult shot. For anyone else, Alvin squeezed the trigger. A German soldier fell. The other Germans didn't react. They thought it was a stray bullet. They kept firing at the American position. Alvin worked the bolt on his Springfield M1903 rifle, aimed at another distant German. Fired. Another kill. The Germans still didn't understand what was happening. Why? Because Alvin was shooting the farthest Germans first. The ones closest to him couldn't see their comrades falling behind them. They had no idea they were being systematically eliminated from back to front. Alvin kept shooting. One shot, one kill, reload. One shot, one kill, reload. His training was simple. Aim for the head. Same as squirrels. Don't waste shots on body hits. Headshots only. Instant kills. No wounded soldiers who can still fight back. The German officers realized they were being picked off. They sent soldiers to rush Alvin's position. 6 German soldiers charged down the hill, bayonets fixed, screaming, 40 meters away. 30 meters, 20 meters. Most soldiers would panic, spray automatic fire, hope to hit something. Alvin York thought about turkeys. When you're hunting a flock of turkeys and they start to run, you don't shoot the leader. You shoot from back to front. Otherwise, the front ones see their companions fall and scatter. Alvin had a Colt M1911 pistol as his sidearm. 7 rounds. He didn't pull it until the Germans were 15 meters away, and then he started shooting. From back to front. The last German in the charge fell first. The ones in front kept running. Didn't see him fall. Second to last German. Shot. Fell. The others kept charging. Third from the back. Shot. Fell. Now the front Germans realized something was wrong. They turned around, saw their comrades dead behind them, hesitated. Alvin shot the 4th, 5th, 6th. All 6 Germans dead. In the order opposite to their charge. This tactic did something psychological. The Germans watching from the hill saw their comrades charge, saw them get within 15 meters of the American, and saw them all die before reaching him. It looked like the American was invincible, unkillable. The German officers tried sending more soldiers, 8 this time. Alvin repeated the exact same tactic. Let them get close, pull his pistol, shoot from back to front. All 8 dead. The Germans on the hill started to panic. Who was this soldier? How was he killing everyone? At this point, Alvin had killed 17 Germans in about 10 minutes, and he wasn't wounded. Wasn't even breathing hard. Just shooting, reloading, shooting, like he was hunting squirrels back in Tennessee. The German machine gun nests kept firing, but they were confused, disorganized. Their comrades kept dying, and they couldn't figure out where the shots were coming from. Alvin was using the fallen log for cover, exposing himself only when firing, minimizing his profile. Moving slightly after each shot, the Germans were firing at where he'd been, not where he was. And then something remarkable happened. A German officer stood up, Major Paul Vollmer, commanding officer of the German battalion. He shouted in English, "English? English?" Alvin shouted back, "No, American," the German officer said. "If you don't shoot anymore, I make them give up." Alvin York was in an impossible position. He was alone. The other 8 Americans were guarding the 20 German prisoners they'd captured earlier. He had killed at least 20 Germans. There were still 70 or 80 Germans on the hill with machine guns. And now a German officer was offering surrender. But Alvin couldn't trust it. Could be a trick. Could be buying time for reinforcements. Alvin made a decision. He shouted, "All right, but you have them come down here with their hands up, and you come down first." Major Vollmer hesitated. Then he stood up, raised his hands, started walking down the hill. This was the moment of maximum danger. If the Germans were going to kill Alvin, this was when they'd do it. Shoot him while he was exposed, accepting the surrender. But Alvin kept his rifle aimed at Major Vollmer's head. If anyone shoots, you die first, he thought. And he meant it. Vollmer could see it in his eyes. The German major walked down the hill. Hands raised. Behind him, German soldiers started standing up, raising their hands, walking down. 10, 20, 30. Alvin couldn't believe it. They were actually surrendering. 40, 50, 60. More kept coming. By the time the last German soldier descended the hill, Alvin York had accepted the surrender of 132 German soldiers. including Major Vollmer, 6 other German officers, and the entire battalion, 1 American corporal, 132 German prisoners. And now, Alvin had a new problem. How do you march 132 prisoners back to American lines when you only have 9 guards? Alvin ordered the German prisoners into a column. He put Major Vollmer at the front. Alvin walked behind him with his pistol pressed into Vollmer's back. The other 8 Americans guarded the flanks with rifles. And they started marching back toward American lines. 2 kilometers through hostile territory. If they encountered more Germans, they were finished. Couldn't fight, couldn't run, could only bluff. And that's exactly what happened. They encountered another German machine gun nest, 25 German soldiers. Blocking the path, the machine gun swiveled toward them. Alvin pressed his pistol harder into Vollmer's back. He whispered, "Tell them to surrender, or I kill you right now." Vollmer shouted in German. The machine gun nest surrendered. Now Alvin had 157 prisoners. They kept marching. Encountered another German position. Same tactic. Vollmer ordered surrender. Another 15 prisoners. Now 172 total. By the time Alvin York reached American lines, he was marching 192 German soldiers. He had started the day as part of a 17-man patrol. 9 were dead, 6 were wounded. He was bringing back 192 prisoners, including 32 machine guns captured. The American officers couldn't believe it. "Where did all these prisoners come from?" Alvin explained. They didn't believe him at first. One corporal captured 132 Germans? Killed 25? It seemed impossible. So they investigated, counted the German bodies. 25 confirmed dead from Alvin York's position. All headshots. Talked to the prisoners. They all confirmed the same story. 1 American soldier, shooting from an impossible position, killed everyone who tried to attack him. Accepted surrender of the entire battalion. The American Army recommended Alvin York for the Medal of Honor immediately. General John J. Pershing, commander of the American Expeditionary Forces, personally reviewed the action. He called it the greatest thing accomplished by any private soldier of all the armies of Europe. Alvin York was promoted to sergeant, awarded the Medal of Honor. The French gave him the Croix de Guerre. The Italians gave him the Croce de Guerra. He became the most famous American soldier of World War I. But when reporters asked Alvin how he did it, his answer was simple. "I was shooting them the same way we shoot wild turkeys back home, from back to front." So the ones in front don't know what's happening. The reload trick became famous. Military instructors started teaching it. When facing multiple targets, don't shoot the closest one first. Shoot from farthest to closest, or from back to front if they're advancing. This prevents the immediate threats from scattering and creates psychological confusion. It's counterintuitive. Every instinct says shoot the closest threat first. But Alvin York proved that sometimes the strategic shot is better than the obvious shot. After the war, Alvin York returned to Tennessee. He was offered money, movie deals, endorsements. He refused almost everything. He wanted to go home. He married his sweetheart, Gracie Williams. They'd been engaged before the war. He used some of his fame to raise money for schools in rural Tennessee. Founded the Alvin C. York Agricultural Institute. Helped bring education to mountain communities that had none. But Alvin struggled with what he'd done. He'd killed 25 men, captured 132 more. He was called a hero. But he remembered every face, every shot. He told his pastor, "I did what I had to do, but I prayed I'd never have to do it again." Alvin lived quietly for decades. Raised a family, farmed his land, avoided publicity. In 1941, Hollywood made a movie about his life, Sergeant York, starring Gary Cooper. Alvin didn't want the movie made, but Warner Brothers convinced him the story could help America prepare for World War II. Show young men what courage looked like. Alvin agreed on one condition. All his profits from the film would go to charity. The movie was a massive success, won Gary Cooper an Academy Award, made millions of dollars. Alvin donated everything to schools and charity. He kept nothing. In his final years, reporters would occasionally find him, ask him about October 8th, 1918, ask him how he killed 25 Germans, how he captured 132 prisoners, how one man did what seemed impossible. And Alvin York would say the same thing every time. It wasn't me. It was God using the skills my father taught me. I was just a mountain boy who knew how to shoot squirrels. Alvin York died September 2nd, 1964, at age 76. He was buried in Tennessee with full military honors. President Lyndon Johnson sent a personal message. Thousands attended his funeral. Veterans, soldiers, teachers whose schools he'd helped build, and hunters. Men who understood that the greatest American soldier of World War I won his battles using tactics learned hunting squirrels in the Tennessee mountains. The reload trick is still taught today. In military academies, in police tactical training, in any situation where you face multiple threats, the principle is the same. Don't shoot the obvious target first. Think strategically. Shoot from back to front or far to near. Create confusion. Maximize effectiveness. These aren't advanced military tactics from elite schools. They're lessons from a poor Tennessee farmer who needed every bullet to count because his family was hungry. Because in the end, this is the story of Alvin York, a man who didn't want to fight, who struggled with killing, who only agreed to serve because he believed it was defending innocent people. Who applied squirrel hunting tactics to warfare? Who shot from back to front because that's how you hunt turkeys without scaring the flock? Who killed 25 German soldiers with 25 bullets? All headshots, no wasted ammunition. Who captured 132 prisoners because he understood psychology better than military strategy? Who came home and gave away his fame and fortune to build schools? And who, when asked how he did the impossible, said, "My father taught me how to hunt, and I just did what I'd always done." If you found this story important, if you believe soldiers like Alvin York deserve to be remembered, please like this video. It helps YouTube's algorithm show these stories to more people. Subscribe to the channel for more forgotten war heroes. And in the comments below, tell us, where are you watching from?